one of the best games of the weekend. Chiefs at the Bengals. The Bengals, the epitome of the team that we can't figure out. They have been on, since week 6, a cycle of win 2, lose 2, win 2, lose 2, win 2. They're due to lose 2, according to that EKG that they've been generating for the season. And hey, this is a tough one. Here comes Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, ready to take on the hot young quarterback that everyone is praising, who has been great and who had 525 passing yards on Sunday. Here's both Patrick Mahomes and Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnulolo talking about the challenge of facing and beating Joe Burrow.
Not only is he a great football player, I think he's a great leader. He has that special knack where he can lead anybody, and no matter where he's at, he can go out there with that swag, that mentality of I'm going to win no matter what. And it takes a lot of experience, and it takes a lot of just going out there and doing it for people to believe that. And so he has that as well as the physical talent to go out there and make a lot of stuff happen.
Yeah, really, really impressive. I mean, look at this. May sound crazy, but I see a young Tom Brady. I mean, this guy does everything. He does not look like a second-year quarterback that missed a lot of his first year. Totally impressed with him. Began the meeting on Tuesday. We were just finishing up on the last game, but began the meeting talking about Joe because I think he's that good.
Now, I don't think Steve Spagnolo means young Tom Brady like Tom Brady from 2001, 2002, 2003. I think he means a young version of the current Tom Brady, which I'm more inclined to agree with.
Yes.
I also admire that Spagnuolo learned from the mistake that Don Martindale, the Ravens defensive coordinator, made last week in riling up Joe Burrow. You got to go the Lou Holtz route with Joe Burrow because he's going to hear it and he's going to be motivated by it. So, yes, he is Tom Brady. We'll give him the gold jacket. Let's not say anything that will give him extra motivation to kick our butts on Sunday.
It's funny. I talked to Burrow after that 525-yard game last Sunday, late afternoon, and I asked him about, hey, this is your first game ever against Patrick Mahomes. That's got to be kind of cool. And in his answer, I looked back at the transcript because I taped it, and I looked back at the answer, and he did not mention Patrick Mahomes. So, I mean, that's one of the things. And look, he's not doing it to diss Patrick Mahomes. He just, that's not the way he thinks. He doesn't think, ooh, man, we're playing the Mahomies this week. Hey, sneakerhead. It's just not really the way he thinks. The way he thinks is, I don't care who we're playing, I'm going to kill him. And he won't say it. He won't say it, but that is what I believe he thinks. Because I think, Mike, I mean, I don't want to go too far overboard with Burrow. I really don't. He's a young player, hasn't played that much in the NFL yet, but I'm just telling you, he's got everything I would want in a quarterback. Even Mike Brown, the kind of the acerbic old owner of the Bengals told me a few weeks ago, hey, listen, basically, hey, when Joe Burrow gets a conviction on something, get out of his way. He's just going to go do it. And so that's the thing that I like about Burrow. He doesn't listen to any of the outside noise. He just plays football and plays it at a high level. And look, I wrote this in my column this week. I hope this is about the first 20 games between Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, because I believe at some point very soon, when we look at the quarterbacks in the NFL, Burrow and Mahomes will both be in the top 5 for a long time.
And there's one similarity that I've noticed between Burrow and Mahomes as it relates to the people behind the face mask. He hasn't changed at all. Success has not made him any different. He's still very accessible. I spoke to him. You spoke to him. It's fun talking to him. It's meaningful answers. It's not jargon and cliche. Yeah. He doesn't hold anything back. He says what he believes. My son types up the interviews that I do after games on Sundays, and he's always lobbying for Burrow because he loves listening to Burrow. I love listening to Burrow, and he's always got good stuff. And you called him at one point during the season a babyface killer. And it really, it's so funny when you hear what he had to say after that game on Sunday, and then you see the images of him with the Santa hat on and the Krusty Krab T-shirt and that face, I don't think he's ever shaved. I don't see any evidence that the follicles on his cheeks, his chin, under his nose, I don't see anything there that would suggest he needs a razor or shaving cream. It's an amazing contrast between how he presents himself, how he speaks. How he speaks and what he says are so different, and then how he plays is so different as well. And it's one of the fun, as we celebrate John Madden, we're going to talk about him later in the program. He made things more fun. Joe Burrow is a guy who makes football more fun, but just by his presence.
And Mike, two things occurred to me when you were talking. Number one, I actually called him Machine Gun Burrow. And but the thing that occurred to me watching the Madden documentary, when Madden circles Troy Aikman's cheek and he goes, "Look, there's no hair here." And then he drew in a little mustache on his lip, above his lip. I mean, it was hilarious. And that is sort of the way Burrow looks. And you talk about, the way that he plays. And I just know that it doesn't matter who he goes up against. Every single person he goes up against, he is convinced that he's going to win. And Mike, how about his incredible throw, the game I covered 2-3 weeks ago against the 49ers, where it's 4th and 5. He gets chased out of the pocket, and he finds Jamar Chase in the back of the end zone when he has to throw it behind him because he's covered in front of him. He's just, everything about him screams that the Bengals are going to be good for a long time now.
Absolutely, and they're good now. They win on Sunday. They win the AFC North, a division that still all four teams could win as we head into the 17th week of an 18-week season. The Chiefs are going to be a tough task, though, Peter. 9 straight wins if they beat the Bengals on Sunday. They lead Tennessee by 1 game for the number 1 seed. So, there's nobody as we get closer to the station on this season who has anything wrapped up. There's no talk of anyone resting starters. Everyone is still playing for something. This week's games could change the perspective of some teams from next week, because it could be you have a 3 seed that can't improve or go down or whatever the case may be. But for now, the Chiefs are still reaching for the brass ring. They've got every reason to win. The Bengals have every reason to win. And it should be a great, great game. And, we keep looking for the next Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. And I don't think we're going to see another Peyton Manning, Tom Brady anytime soon, because one of the key ingredients there, both of their teams dominated their divisions. So they were guaranteed to make the playoffs every year. They were guaranteed to cross paths every couple of years. Just as a practical matter, you're going to see them because they're the top teams in their respective divisions. For the Bengals, who knows where they're going to land any given year. The Chiefs have had some threats recently, but I just like the fact that they're in the same division. So at least we'll see it more than once every 4 years. These two get together, and maybe we'll get a playoff game. Yeah, same conference, excuse me. And maybe we'll get a playoff game between the two teams at some point. Maybe this year. Who knows?
Here's the other crazy thing, Mike. I'm not saying I think the Bengals will win out, because I really don't. They got a tough road with Kansas City and what likely will be a desperate Cleveland team in Week 18. But if the Bengals win out, here's the craziest thing of all. I want you to tell me who on Labor Day weekend thought that the Bengals would be seeded better than the Buffalo Bills entering the playoffs. I can't think of a person. I can't think of Joe Burrow's parents. I mean, and so the Bengals are really playing for something now. They're playing for a 3rd seed. And I'm telling you, here's what's going to be really, really interesting as far as the TV schedule, in my opinion, in the playoffs. Can you imagine if the Bengals win out and they finish 11-6 with a win over Mahomes, with a win over the 49ers, with a sweep of the Ravens, a sweep of the Steelers? What will the NFL do with them with television? Is there any chance with the red-hot Joe Burrow that they make them a primetime Saturday game or even a Monday night game. I mean, is that the first Monday night game in playoff history? I don't know, but all I know is that if the Bengals win out, they will be must-see TV.
I agree with you. And I think it's going to be driven by who they play in that wild card round, and that's still wildly undecided because so many teams are jockeying for the 5, 6, and 7 seed. I know back in Cincinnati, the vibe before the season. Now, the fans are always blinded by the possibility of anything happening when you're 0-0. But there were reasons to believe the Bengals were going to struggle this year. Joe Burrow seemed to be having the same issues Carson Palmer did the year after he tore his ACL. There were questions about, we didn't see much of him in the preseason. But, there were questions about how comfortable and confident he was going to be planting that left leg again. As soon as it was time to play, that was gone. Once the regular season started, the knee was never an issue, not once, not a single time. And the issues with Jamar Chase's drops, now they came back later in the year, but early in the season he was awesome and he was unstoppable. And the defense is focused on taking him away, and the offense has pivoted to other things. And they've been spectacular from the get-go. From the overtime win over the Vikings to start the season, they've been a team that has declared themselves to be contenders. And I agree with you. They'll be contenders for as long as Joe Burrow is on that team.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.